The show tonight was about Shemyaza and channeling Shemyaza, channeling entities. And we're going to go in first to talk about astral travel. I was wanting to meet up with somebody on the astral last night, and I asked somebody called Alex. Alex was linked with the Basis Project, and well, not linked with it. He was watching it and then heard me on there, and that channel has recently been crashed. And contacted me, and Jana was asking me prior to the show what happened with him. So basically, he contacted me and said to come out at a certain time, 12 midnight. As I did, I was lying on my bed, and I remember taking red cough mixture that I did as a child, and hearing them saying, oh, it's because they give them that to stop them astrally traveling. This red cough mixture they used to give to kids back then. So I remember just choking on that, but then getting out with these people. And interestingly, Jana, they then started questioning me about, you know, who are you? Who do you work for? Whatever. And I got that sort of interrogation, but it wasn't Alex, it was people with them. So I approached Alex last night, who's an American, and asked him about astral traveling. He said, well, I already knew to create a space. So I'd created a space with a fountain somewhere in a park. And he said to write in graphite pencil, number 2, to write a poem around it. So say I was meeting you, Jana, in the astral, and I said, let's meet near a Ferris wheel or something like that. I would say something like the fairground, the candy floss, it's loud music, the Ferris wheel, stand by the Ferris wheel, like a cheesy little poem, but write it in graphite because graphite is a manifester. And so interestingly, he then went on to talk about graphene in graphite and said that they're putting it in the vax, basically. And strangely, I found a YouTube that called Graphite Skies, and they said they were spraying graphene on us in nanoparticles, and it didn't say in the video that it was for this manifesting, but it was interesting that I'd been given that information.
Right. Well, sounds quite fascinating, actually. Strange you should say that about fairgrounds, because I had a period of having dreams night after night after night about being at a fairground when I was younger. And I couldn't work it out. It went on for weeks. It was really odd. And I think it was something to do with UFOs. In the end, I thought, why? Well, because there was all these lights and they were all whirling round, and you know, and I thought, I knew it was every night, and it was strange. But yeah, I'm thinking about it. I had a strange dream last night. I dreamt somebody put a fetus in me or something. Yeah, and then I saw some evidence of it, and it was like these little dots in a weird shape. God, it was really odd. Yeah, I'm not remembering my dreams at the moment, but they're really active. But I remember bits of ones from last night. But I just remember looking at these dots in a shape and thinking, oh, God, that's proof that I've got this baby inside me. I didn't want the baby. There was something odd about it. No, it's like weird. Anyway, enough of me talking about my dreams. It gets a bit boring for other people, doesn't it? Yeah, that's a fascinating experience. So graphene or graphite?
Yeah, it was interesting the word graphene. It comes from graphite, I think. It was interesting that he said you need that to manifest to astrally travel. I don't know how he knows about all this kind of stuff, but there we are. And yeah, so I did try. It kind of worked a little bit with the person. I kind of interacted with them, but it wasn't strong. I really wanted a strong experience, and it wasn't strong. It was more or less a flash in. And then I found myself in this AI kind of place where they question me why I brought him, and question me what was going on. And it makes me think that, you know, maybe there is this, you know, over control of us, because I noticed E.A. Coetting did something on AI. He said that AI is Lucifer, and that's how he's going to take control of us. And they do want human beings to be like a sort of Borg consciousness, because that way we're better slaves, we're better controlled. And so it makes sense that they'd want us to inhale this graphite, because then they can sort of tell us what to do in sort of a way, if it is a manifesting compound, to sort of control us, but magically control us, if you know what I mean, through the AI, whoever it's done. And he said an interesting thing as well. He said the magical systems are collapsing, the old ways of the old controllers using, systems like Monarch and MK and, all those control systems that they've used. That's quite interesting. I do feel a sense of that is going, which leaves us all free to conduct magic, because if there's a period between the old going and the new coming, that leaves a kind of a window for all of us to get involved. And I think we should, because I know there's this thing, it says in the Bible you shouldn't do magic, you shouldn't this, shouldn't, it's against God. But I don't think it is, and I think they've inserted that kind of stuff in there, obviously because they don't want us all connecting up, and I can believe they had a certain cough mixture given to kids that they didn't want to. They also had programs like Tomorrow People, where they had the symbolism of the hand unfolding as you start watching it, and they said that some kids just open your mind. So they obviously wanted some of the children to, start connecting up. Again, it's sort of like they seem to like connecting up in groups of people in a sort of a hive mind sort of situation.
Makes sense what you're saying, because we've been programmed as kids. That's scary. But I don't get the sense that I think the AI is definitely off planet. Definitely. I don't get the sense it's that. I mean, I think it's being conducted through a Luciferian agenda, but I think ultimately it's off planet. I think it's ET takeover. But I think we've been conned into thinking about, by films like Independence Day, that it'd be like old-fashioned conflict, people shooting things at sources, and it's not like that. It's whoever it is obviously very well versed in this kind of thing, and they know how to do it. They've probably done it before.
I agree. It does feel to me like an ET takeover. If it does, it very much does. It very much does. And you can feel the change, can't you? That life isn't how it used to be. It's different now. It's
very much so. Yeah, very much so.
You can kind of almost feel that control of them, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, even the how can I put this? The most mundane of people, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. What I mean is people who don't talk about the things we talk about, maybe. Even they feel that everything has changed, and everybody feels less unsafe. I mean, everybody feels more unsafe, rather, less safe. Everything is it's just a massive insecurity. In the past, you could look forward to a future, and you're living in somewhere like England, you're pretty much safe and secure. We have futures, but we don't now.
Having said that, you and I have been targeted, and other people have been targeted. And I think sometimes as well, the old system, there's a certain amount of release off the target. And I know not super a lot, because we're becoming more and more aware of it. So you see it, but there's also a release of it in a certain way. I can feel that going on as well as the old system.
Me too.
Yeah, and so the old systems haven't worked for you and I. They've worked for some people, and you see these people, and you see them in their big mansions. You see them thinking life is carefree, life is carefree, life is carefree, and they call it having a life. Well, the rest of us aren't. The rest of us suffer. The rest of us know what evil is. The rest of us have a different experience of life than they do, and that's crumbling. And actually, that's probably a good thing, because humanity. And I do agree with you. I think it's some kind of ET takeover. Humanity has this hierarchy in place, and especially in England, the class system.
Yeah.
which is revolting. I mean, we're just treated actually like scum. And then you get people coming from different areas, so India and Pakistan, and they like, they want to be like the gentry. They kind of seem to ignore the working classes, like we don't exist. And then they're like, oh, we want to be like, we're not having it's racist, it's racist against us. We don't have. But we don't have it either. There's white skinned people. We don't have it either. We're serfs. We're peasants. We're trod into the ground, and that way it is falling, and that's probably a good thing, because I don't know, I'm saying, like, I like the idea of a communist revolution, but I don't like the way certain humans have really liked and enjoyed the Draco power structure, and really clung to it, and really milked it, and really stamped on other human beings beneath them, and really sort of power wanked on, oh, I'm above you, you're this, you live there, so I'm above you, I'm superior. They've enjoyed that, and we've gone along with it. You live in a council flat, I live over there in that 2 million man. I'm superior to you, I'm more intelligent than you. But actually, it's not about that, because some people have been under repression, and we know that now. And if that's ending, and I think it is ending because a new structure is being put in place, then happy days, good.
There's several aspects to this. Personally, I think the Draco thing came in with the Norman invasion. I think that was the setup, because that's when all the land was parcelled out, and all the lords and all, the aristocracy was created. Then I think it was added upon with the Enclosures Act, when the land was taken off common people. That's where the word heathen comes from. People of the heath that used to go and do when we were pagan. And people used to be able to graze their cattle anywhere. So I think there's that. Pluto is just finishing coming out of Capricorn.
Sorry, so hang on. Who did that to the heathens?
The Enclosures Act.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember when that was instigated. I think it was. So everybody, there was loads more freedom on the land. And land was not as parcelled off as it is now.
Well, that's disgusting how that's happened. This is my land and all that. Well, it's God's land as it goes, and there's so much evil that goes on around that attitude,
Yeah.
So much evil, so much suffering of people, that people are homeless, people, living in bad situations, because other people are very greedy around it. And that's mine, not yours. And whoever brought that in, so it's the French, was it?
No, that was the ruling classes of our country. I can't remember which century.
They're kind of right seeded with the Draco, aren't they?
Because it's gone through certain bloodlines, hasn't it? They must have either looked at who would be the best bloodlines to put this through, and it's obviously worked very well. Because it's no coincidence, is it? It's the ruling classes that were proponents of black magic, because they could do it. They could get away with so many things. They could get away with getting divorced in the past, when divorce was taboo in this country. They didn't have to, when this country was completely Christian and everybody had to go along with it, in whatever form of Christianity you agreed with. They could do their secret black magic rituals. They have free reign because of who they were. I mean, it's still like that now, isn't it? If you're rich, you can do what the F you like, basically, unless you get yourself in a position like Jeffrey Epstein, and then you know too much, and then you become a liability. But if you just see a run-of-the-mill aristo with lots of money, you can do what you like. I mean, it's been like that for a while.
He probably would have carried on, but for this new structure coming in, I think they're bringing down certain people, aren't they?
He was intelligent. It's obvious. He was there. He was operating as a master of setting people up so they could control them. It's obvious, and why they did away with him, I don't know. I think people started finding out too much. But why they decided, why it was, Because you think about how long he operated doing what he was doing, and he was untouchable. People knew about him for ages. He was untouchable. How is somebody like that untouchable? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? Because of corruption, of course, because of having friends in high places. But then, I don't know, you fall out of favour for whatever reason, they decide to throw you under the bus, and then there's all this evidence. But it's obvious who is the intelligence. I mean, that Virginia, I can't remember her name, the one that's got the Prince Andrew case, she lives in Australia now, and she said she was phoned up by, I can't remember if it was somebody representing Ghislaine or whoever. And she said, how did they get my phone number? How did they find out where I was after all this time? Because they are in everywhere. They know everything about everybody. They can easily find anybody. Well, basically, they're trying to warn her off. And she said, well, I'm not going to be warned off. So they've thrown him under the bus. But yeah, I agree. It does seem to be breaking down. But you just have to be careful of these powers create illusions, and it looks like something's happening, but actually it's sleight of hand. It's like good old-fashioned magic. What's the really important thing is happening over here. So they might, be looking like they're doing something and being good, but really, you've got to remember, human trafficking right now is the biggest business on this planet. It's making more money than anything. So do you really think that people who are making all this money are going to give it up? Of course they're not. So you just have to look at the border in America and everything. When I say everything, what I'm talking about is separate from the people that are coming through the border. There's enough fentanyl to kill everybody in America. The Mexicans and the Chinese are obviously, they've teamed up now, because the Chinese are supplying the fentanyl, the Mexican cartels are bringing it through. So apart from the human trafficking, there's everything going on. I mean, and it's just, it's beyond me. It leaves me speechless. How can you think this is a good thing, having a border where all it is, because it's obviously not just people. They're preying on the heartstrings of people's morals, saying there's all these needy people. It's not just all these needy people. That's a separate issue. There is a lot of drugs and a lot of illegal arms and a lot of everything else, and probably a lot of terrorists as well, all piling into America. I mean, we've got the same thing here, haven't we? So, but it just all adds to the insecurity and the feeling if you're not safe anymore and everything's unstable and you can't even book a holiday, you can't do this, you can't do that, you don't know what's going to be happening. I think it's really destabilising, and that makes everybody more vulnerable to being controlled, doesn't it?
Yeah, because when there's chaos, you kind of ask for control, and the masses will ask for control, and then it will get worse and more freedom's taken away. I think everybody's welcoming that vaccine passport now. I mean, never would have thought of that, but now it seems like it's going to happen, and everybody's happy about that. But as you say, it's not one vaccine, it's not two. Now they want 3, 4 and yearly, and maybe a couple of times yearly. And what is that at the end of the day? We don't even really know what it is. At first we were told, just one, and then slowly creeped in 2, and so it's strange.
And the new variants of COVID, that at the moment there's Lambda and Delta variant in the UK. I looked it up because of what was wrong with me last week. And it's funny because I started looking up the symptoms again, and what was wrong with me last week fitted in with the symptoms of COVID in America. It was really weird what the CDC are saying to people in America. And I thought, that's really strange. I mean, I'm not saying 100% it was that. It might have just been a bug. But
well, we don't know, do we? I mean, I don't feel great right now. But I was reading Dr. Eric Berg. No, listen, he's got a great YouTube, Dr. Eric Berg, BERG, and he was saying if you get symptoms of that ilk to take. He said vitamin B3. So I suppose if you get a vitamin B complex, there's B3 in it. And he said L-carnitine, and of course the usual D, C, and zinc, and selenium as well is a big one. I know that's really good if you've got flu. Selenium it does kind of carry you through. And things like bee propolis and black elderberry, that's sold out everywhere. I used to get black
Black
elderberry.
elderberry. What's that?
It's really good. Neil's Yard used to do a tincture, and they used to do a syrup. So they had black elderberry syrup. It was about a tenner, and they had black elderberry tincture. And honestly, you take this, the syrup's awesome. You put it in, treat it like Ribena, and you put it in a cup. You sort of pour a couple of tablespoons, fill it up with hot water, and you drink it. And oh man, you feel your body getting stronger and stronger. It is awesome, even when you haven't got a cold.
Let me make a note of that. Black elderberry, right?
It's rocking. But you can, I mean, Pucker have done one. It's not as good. I think because Neil's Yard put a lot of the black elderberry in it, and it's awesome stuff. You can only take it for a couple of months. You're not supposed to take it constantly, but it does make you feel strong. And they were saying online that it might be a cure for the COVID. Certainly, if you've got flu, it can really make your body, just every cell in your body, feel stronger. I mean, it's awesome stuff. But I mean, if you get the Sambuca version or the Pucker version, it's not as nice as the Neil's Yard version, because the Neil's Yard version put in a lot of the black elderberry. Some people sell that. You can get it like in Tesco, but it's not. I mean, they just got like 1% of it, and it's just like there's no point there, and you're not getting it. But you can also get black elderberry tea by buying black elderberry. Again, you've got to get Neil's Yard. I trust with them because they do put a lot of it in there. Their stuff seems to be, I hate to say it begrudgingly, a lot of their oils and stuff seem to be really good.
That's
anyway,
really good
sorry.
advice. No,
yeah,
it's fine.
So
I think that's useful information for the listeners.
Yeah. So back to Alex and the graphene. So I'm going to buy a graphene pencil today and try and do an astral meetup with somebody. I mean, it's quite seemingly this is how you do it. So say I was meeting you. Okay, so we would set a time. We would say 10 o'clock at night. So get to 10 o'clock at night. We would set a place in the astral, and setting a place in the astral is easy because you can do what you want. You can have a house there, and even as a sort of person on your own, you can have a house that you create on the astral that you go back to. So say you're feeling upset, depressed, whatever, you can build it. So say I want a clapboard house with a porch and all that kind of thing and a lovely garden. I create it, and I can go there when I want to go there. I mean, it's best probably not to say this on air, because you get cheesy people that are sort of attacking you, maybe competing with you. And of course, there's a lot of magicians out there, and there's a lot of competing, and who's going to be the best magician and all this nonsense. And so if you say stuff like that, then they'll go for it. Oh, really? Is that what you've got in the astral? So they'll come for you, and then they'll try and destroy that. So, but I've got a lot of protection going on right now. So if anybody does that to me, I will completely crush them, and I'll reverse any curses that have been done on me, because I'm aware of that going on right now. And who does it? I mean, the astral is a weird place sometimes. So for instance, I might go into the astral consciously, I might do it, or unconsciously, but find myself there. And then sometimes you might start seeing ugly visions, like people chopped up, or you might see a rat crawl across you. If you start seeing that, you're under demonic attack. So what I do, if I see a rat going past me, I will pick it up in my hand and I will say to it, who sent you? Or I will even just feel its vibration, and then I'll ask who has sent this, and then I'll get an image of the person. It's normally a magician of some kind, and then I will just reverse whatever they're doing on me back on them tenfold. And so you get that going on, especially if someone's being public like we are right now. But you can get yourself a house, and then so I can say to you, Joanna, right, come to my house. So I can give you a description of it, maybe send you a picture of what it looks like, find it on Pinterest or something. And then, so we'll set a time, say 10 o'clock. So you will lay down, I'll be laying down, and then you will image this house. So you would say,
Okay.
right, I want to be at the house, I want to be at the house, I want to be at the house. And then the best way is to do something like pass some, so you have a totem. So it's a bit like the film Inception. So they used a totem of the spinning top. They used it for other reasons, but you can use it to access to, and to remind you. So a totem is good. So say I said I was going to meet you and we were going to sit at a table in the garden and I was going to spin a top. And when I spin the top, you'd be aware that you were astral and you would become more consciousness and you would then interact with me. So it's like a totem. It could be like a flower. So I would say something like, I will pass you a daisy. And when I pass you the daisy, you will then become aware that you are communicating with me and that it was planned, and it would wake your mind up to a certain extent. There's something to do with spinning in different levels, that you can swap and go higher by spinning. That's in some of the astral journeying books. Actually, it's in a book called Lucid Dreaming by Stephen Berg as well, which I didn't like that book because it's just too dry biscuit. So don't bother buying that, listener. It's rubbish. I wasted money on it. So what? So then, what we would do? You would have the totem. It could be anything. It could be a stuffed rabbit. So I would bring out the stuffed rabbit, pass it to you, and then you would think, "Oh, stuffed rabbit. That's what we talked about." And your mind would then become more conscious, and you would know that you were astral. And then you would interact with me. Oh, look, we're here. And then you could do things. Like you could go in the house, or you could go spying on people, if you wanted to, and say you wanted to go and talk to Brian Barrett, say, the magician, you thought, let's go and see Brian. So we would just think of him, and then it was rather be like on the kids program Tomorrow People, the jaunting belts. You would kind of jaunt there. You don't have to touch your belt, but we would think of him together, and then we would go and visit with him. So he might be anywhere. He might be somewhere talking to somebody, and we would intrude on that. But any kind of thing. So that's the astral, where you have a certain amount of control. And so Alex helped me in that. He said, if you're meeting with somebody to do this poem, so say we would be sitting at the table, I would spin the top. So I would say, two women sitting at a table, it's a sunny day, hip hip hooray, we're spinning the top, spin spin spin, and that would be the poem. And so then I would pass that poem to you. I would write it in graphite. You would I'd pass it to you. You would write it out in graphite too. And then before laying down at a certain hour, you would read it out.
Right. That's very interesting.
Yeah, and then you'd have intent to meet me. A lot of it is to do with intent. So that's why I suppose putting graphite into us, and if the AI or whatever is controlling us, the consciousness, knew how to activate it, I suppose it would be a certain amount of mind control, I suppose, a certain amount of control, maybe making us feel different emotions, but they have that capability right now anyway. And of course, mind control is an old thing. It's been around. So maybe it's just the mind control gets taken away from these groups. And I know they're off planet and they control us in that way. They're taken away. And then, we have this certain amount of freedom, and then everybody has the control. So it's, instead of certain little victims like us suffering, which we have under repression, under control, under things that make us not ever have anything, and do the bidding of others. Now it's the turn of everybody to experience it. The ones that have known a certain amount of freedom will experience that certain amount of control. So for those of us that have been under control and been targeted, we have a certain amount of the upper hand, because we know what it's like. We know how to avoid it. We know how. So for us, it'll be a certain amount of freedom, because it won't be so much intense targeting. It will be targeted on everybody, on the whole planet, on humanity as a whole. So I think the best thing is to get magicked up, to get proficient in this kind of thing, because they operate in the astral a lot of the time, and a lot of the time human beings don't bother going there. They just think, oh, don't want to do that, and oh, that's a load of nutty rubbish. But that's where you go when you die. When you die, you come out of your body and you go there. and then you encounter people that you've met in other lifetimes, whatever. But if you get proficient with it now, then you've got the upper hand when it comes to your death, which isn't that long away. We'll have a tiny amount of time here. We become more awake to it, we become more powerful, and we also, it'd be hard if people are doing curses on us, if they are attacking us in a certain way. If you go astral, you can stop it, you can find out what's going on. You can even go, there's a new thing now where they're going about the Akashic records and different. I know the Daily Mail wanted to do a piece on it. Sam Brick advertised on her Facebook page, I want to do something on Akashic records. But we can all, you don't need this person or that person to take you and to show you we can do it ourselves. You just go astral and then you say, right, I want to read my book. And I'm sure you'll then get, as it was on that film, what's that film with that girl, Discovery of Witches? You'll find yourself in a library and just say to the library person there, your brain will interpret it in whatever way it wants to interpret it, and then say to the I want to see my book, or I want to see someone else's book, and you can read it. You don't need a special person to to do that. And I think because the ascension, we're all getting a bit more consciousnesses. We're meant to use it, not say, oh, that's wrong, it's evil, or oh, that doesn't exist, or it's not real, and don't believe in it. What do you mean don't believe in it? I can never get over that, because someone said I don't believe, and you think, well, hang on, where do you think you're going? Where do you think you're going in what, another 10 summers will pass and you'll probably be there? So how can you not believe in where you're going to be? And
because
what?
There's the same kind of people that believe that you just hear and there's nothing.
Yes,
and you just hear having this
silly.
random...
But then the same people believe in God. The same people, you ask them and they go, yeah, I believe in God. And then you question them more and they say something like, oh, there's a resurrection at some point. And you think, oh, bloody hell.
I know. It doesn't make any sense, does it?
No,
it's like a lot of science is belief in the invisible. I know a lot of it is empirical, but a lot of it is belief in the invisible. And a lot of science came out of alchemy and magic anyway. So what are they talking about, eh? I know, it's crazy. That's really interesting, though, about traveling in the astral.
I'm going to do it later. I'm going to go and get my graphite. He said a graphite 1. No, a graphite 2. And I said, well, in England, we have HB, BH, and we have that. I said, so do you mean maybe a B2? But he didn't know. So I'm going to have to look it up and see a graphite 1. What is that in England? So I'm definitely going to run and get my graphite, maybe to an art shop, and do this properly and then see if it works. I mean, I did get there a little bit last night, but it wasn't like super clear like I wanted, like it should be, because astral traveling, sometimes it can feel like a dream and you come back in your body, and it's best to write it down straight away, because there's the amnesia barrier, and when you get into the flesh, especially as we're being sprayed with all sorts of stuff, they want us to not remember. They don't want us astral conscious, so they don't want us to remember. The best thing to do is to keep a notepad by your bed and to write down before you do anything, before you move, before you check your phone, write down what happened. And sometimes in the middle of the night, like I woke up last night and I'd had that little encounter and I was so tired, but I knew if I slept without writing it, I would lose it. I just knew. And though my mind was saying, no, come on, you'll remember it, I just knew, but I wouldn't. So I was so tired, but I just kind of sat up in bed and wrote down, and of course this morning I don't remember it. Worries come in, you've got to ring this person, and you don't remember, it just goes, but I think the best way, if you keep doing it, is to get more and more conscious there, and so it becomes like a continued consciousness. I had that experience with Colonel Michael Aquino when he pulled me out of my body for a week long. I didn't like that, because obviously he took me to a room, he left me in there, I had my childhood recalled. It was terrifying. I was actually banging on the window of my childhood home, screaming in terror. All the terror of my childhood came back. He did that. Thanks very much. And but I also think sometimes when people die, they relive times when they've hurt other people as well, which they call purgatory. But it's not, it's just kind of astral. And they call it astral detention sometimes when these people that are proficient, black magicians, whatever, but anybody can be a black magician. You just get proficient at it. It's simple. And so they sometimes would do that and attack you. So Aquino, who's proficient, black magician, uses entities like Set, whatever, and he took me somewhere and he was tasering me, but I escaped. I was rescued by my guides, whoever they are, I don't really know. Again, part of amnesia. So they basically attacked him and let me escape. And I had about 5 nights of coming out of my body. But interestingly, one of the, like on the Tuesday, I was supposed to go into London and have my hair done. And I remember thinking, how can I go? Because I haven't slept, because I didn't lose consciousness at all. I was basically putting my head down. And as soon as I like drifted off to sleep, I was bang right in front of him. And he had full control of my sleeping consciousness. And so I didn't have sleep. And I thought, well, I can't drive into London. I'm going to be tired, but I wasn't tired. So it's when you have that continuous consciousness, you don't lose any time. You don't lose any time. The body sleeps, but you go off and do your little bits and whatever you want to do, even sit and chat with somebody, and then you come back and your body is ready to have a day. So it's a continued consciousness, which is quite interesting.
Wow, there's a lot to think about there. Is he still alive, Michael Aquino, or is he dead?
Well, they say he's dead. I mean, I don't know. I try and keep away from the guy, because I know, what he can do. He's got a lot of ability, but so have other people. And it's kind of annoying when people do attack you and they think, oh, you don't know, or I've got, like I'm often treated by certain people as sort of like, a wee woman who's just getting into all this. And, oh, what is all this? I've been into it since I was a child. I was adopted, I was kept by the Jesuits. They fiddled with me and they made me occultic. And I've been like it since I was a kid, and probably in the programs, and probably I was studying theosophy when I was in my 20s. So this isn't new to me. I haven't gone from baking cupcakes to, oh, I think I'll do what EA Coetting is doing. I mean, and then they attack you because they think you're a wee woman just finished putting pink icing on your fairy cakes, and this is all new to you. Well, it's not new to me. I might not know technical bits about A, B, C, D, E, but the whole psychic stuff isn't new to me. So if they keep attacking me, I'll just do it back. It's annoying to get attacked in that way, as if, oh, look at you. Do you think you're going to swim in this world with the big boys? Well, sorry, I think the Jesuits are far above in their black magic knowledge. So,
oh God, yeah. I mean, they're heavy duty, aren't they?
Exactly. And if you've been part of their setup, which I obviously was, having grown up in their orphanage, they make use of their kiddies. So, I've got that sort of side. So it's annoying. So moving on to Shemyaza, and, Brian gave me the sigil. It was drawn by J.S. Garrett. It's gifted to me. So I thought that, well, I can use it. I don't want to step on anybody's toes at all by using it. I think this is a being, and I did say that to Shemyaza when I did do the communication. I said, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. And he pointed out that when he communicates with human beings, it's just a ray that goes down. It's not the whole of him in entirety, communicating with me. It's just like a single ray, like the ray of the sun, the single ray coming down to individuals rather than me interacting with him in his entirety.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I understood that. So everybody gets their own bit of him, because there's a lot of bits. I mean, like the sun, like you could go out and sunbathe. I can go out and sunbathe. You sunbathing and getting your rays of the sun doesn't interfere with me getting my rays of the sun. It's there for everybody. And so with Shemyaza and other angelic beings, I don't believe that one human being or a group can own, But I'm grateful for the sigil.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is it you want to do with Shemyaza today then?
Yeah. I don't know. It's so I got the sigil in front of me. I haven't got the incense. I haven't lit it. I'm feeling a little bit rough. I didn't I didn't go and bathe. I didn't go and prepare. Sorry. I didn't intend to do that, but again, Shemyaza wanted me to do it each morning, but I tend to feel sick in the morning lately, because the IBS and whatever, I feel um, sick, and then in the evening I feel tired. So it's strange that I have the reticence around him. I don't know. Do you want to ask questions to him through me? And you could ask as well, why I have the reticence. If you want to start off with that question and ask him that, then go ahead.
What does reticence mean?
Ooh, not wanting to, not having the eagerness to, like a puppy,
Oh,
love
okay.
you, and sitting up at my altar, which you told me to meet an altar. Again, it's got crowded with junk. Reticence, not eager, like a puppy is not running to greet him. I don't bother a lot of the time. Like Brian said to me, he's not giving you things in your life. Well, hey, I'm not interacting with him. I mean, so he said to me, interact with me morning and evening. Light the incense. Again, lighting the bloody incense is a palaver. It's charcoal. No, but
Yeah.
I don't know how people do it. It's a palaver. I mean, the ash goes everywhere. It's charcoal, and so
That
you have
gets
to
really
light.
hot.
Yes, and it takes 100 years to bloody light the stuff. It's boring doing it. Maybe I should get another burner. I mean, I don't like the one I've got. Okay, so you got that burns, and then I'll inhale that, and then I'll do the connection. I'll stare at the sigil, and I'll more or less cool, shut my eyes, and then I'll do the automatic writing, which is basically I'll sit with my pen and the pad and ask him to come through, and I'll basically hear him in my mind's eye, not as a sort of a loud voice. It's like a telepathic thing. And then for clarity, I'll kind of write it down. So that's how the connection. That's how. But I've been reticent, and I don't understand myself. Like his first communication with me was interesting. It was clear who he was. Brian said, yes, it's clear, that it is him or some kind of entity of that ilk, because he uses that oldie worldy speak a lot. And but why, I don't understand myself, why I'm reticent, why I'm not eager. I don't get it. It's like I'm not lazy. It's not that he told me he wanted to purify myself. So basically, before I speak to him, I have to bathe. I don't feel like bathing first thing. I do it at night. But it's only a bloody bath, and yet I have that. And I think it's around not knowing who it is. I think it's around, I know the black magicians like Coeting engage with Shemyaza. I'm not black. I don't think I am. And so it makes me think I don't want to get sucked into something.
Well,
And
maybe that's why then. Maybe you've answered your own question. It's because you're being cautious and a bit wary.
Yeah, it is. And then I spoke to Alex, and he said, "Oh, Shemyaza, that's a Palladian, and she's." And I said, "Hang on, it's not she, it's a he, because he definitely said to look for an image of him, and I'll find it." And I found it in the Peter Moshibo's cards. He's got like cards, oracle cards, and they're called the Watchers. And there's an image of Shemyaza there. Apparently, it's the real deal. So. Again, I meant to get that laminated and put up somewhere.
And it's a bloke, is it? It's not a lady.
Yeah. But then,
right.
so Alex said that was what Billy Mayer spoke to. So I don't know, is it a different being? I mean, I don't bloody
Billy
know.
Mayer, the UFO guy?
Yeah, Billy Mayer.
I didn't know he had stuff to do with the angels.
Nor do
That's
I.
interesting. Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know. That was Shemyaza too, but
Right.
Holly do not think it's male, but I mean female. I mean, but who knows what the hell's going on?
I thought they were meant to be androgynous. Mind you, then again, they were the stories
Well, they
about.
don't have genitals, do they? I mean,
But how did they have babies with the daughters of men? If you're talking about the. But I suppose they were the separate ones, are they? I don't know. I'm
I
confused.
don't know either, but maybe that
No.
having sex, maybe that is when they tampered with the DNA and sort of made, they supposedly tampered with the DNA and made hybrids with some of their DNA and ours. So maybe it's not that they were shagging human. Maybe it was that they thought, oh, let's mix our DNA with them. So maybe
Right,
it's
okay,
that,
got you.
like
Yeah, yeah.
Genesis 6. And of course, we interpret it, of course, because human beings are arrogant. Oh, they made love with us. It's so beautiful. It was that. I
Well,
don't think it was that.
it never made sense, did it? I mean,
No.
and the babies that they had were giants,
Yeah.
right? So how does that work if it's an ordinary human woman? Just so this thing, but I mean, it's the same as the Virgin Mary, isn't it? As the angel Gabriel saying that she's having a baby and it's the Son of God.
Well, that was
I mean,
probably a walk-in. The virgin birth, a walk-in birth. It is virginal. It doesn't really involve,
Fancy
Jesus was
Father.
a walk-in. Yeah,
Oh
so maybe
God.
it was that. So anyway, this Shemyaza creature. Yeah, I suppose the reticence was that, and yeah, no. I mean, I am obviously interested in the occult. I did have spirit guides. They went off a while ago, so I did find it curious talking to him. He did give me. He told me all these things that I haven't bothered doing. Again, I don't understand myself. He told me. First of all, he said he was one of the angels of the seven corners. I didn't know what the hell that was. I looked it up, and there are the seven watchers, I think. And then he told me to get this talisman of the. It's called a sigillum de Amoth. So I'm wearing that now. He said I need that for protection, so I put it on. Then he told me to study elemental magic. And there is such a thing, it's involving fire, air, spirit, water, and to become proficient with it. I have actually looked it up, but there's just these, like sort of witches. Oh, I'm the green witch, I'm this witch, I'm the golden witch. And they're not doing very, it's not informative. It's like, oh, earth, you go and get a handful of earth and you just think, oh, really? So there's a lot of those YouTubes out there that are very cheesy and sort of.
Yeah, sounds a bit
No,
remedial, doesn't it,
yeah,
really?
yeah. No, but there is such a thing as elemental. There is such a thing.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, there are
That,
sea witches. Sea witches are meant to be the ones that defended England in the Second World War against the German bombers.
really?
Alleged. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, but there was high level witchcraft going on in the forests of the New Forest in Hampshire. Yeah. There's that lady wrote that book about it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I can't remember her name. I've got the book about defending England in the Second World War. Well, I mean, it was the magical battle for England. That's what it's called. Because I mean, the Nazis were full on using magic, so we were full on using magic. Of course, it's not talked about generally, maybe hinted about every now and again. But yeah, there were sea witches, and you can get weather witches as well. Well, you can raise a storm. Which is what is meant to have happened with against the Spanish Armada. And the Spanish Armada was sunk because witches raised a storm. There's tons of in our history. There is so much witchcraft and magic that's been used that isn't very often talked about. It's off the charts.
So apparently this is a thing. Yeah. So how do the sea witches work?
I don't know. I don't know that much about sea witches. I just know they exist. I did start researching weather magic once because I had a strange experience on Lancaster train station where there was this wind and it felt really odd. Really odd. I mean, it just did not feel right. It felt evil, if I'm honest. there was this wind and it was really strong and it was like battering everything. Even like the signs on the train station were like flapping about and they're metal. And I thought this doesn't feel right. And I went right down the bottom of one of the platforms and people were looking at me like I was a nutter. So I could really try and tune into it. I thought, this is not right. This isn't weather. This is something is created. So I started researching weather magic, and there's a lot tied in with nautical and sailing and like knots in ropes, not all the different knots you have in that's part of sailing, and marine stuff. A lot of it is magical, so you can catch the wind and you can catch a storm and you can tie it into a knot in rope. Rope is quite magical as well. So that's how I started researching weather magic, and there is tons of it out there. I mean, tons of it. So you get weather witches as well. So what you can employ a weather witch to do all kinds of things. Raise the sea, raise the storms, all kinds of stuff. But so this is what's happened in the past to defend England against enemies, is sea witches, weather witches. But,
and the book is called The Magical Battle for England.
The Magical Battle for Britain.
Oh, right.
Was it Dorian Virtue? Yeah. I've got the book. I haven't read it though because it's a bit disappointing because it's a series of letters. You want to read it, but it's a series of letters. And it's a bit hard going because it's quite old-fashioned. But that is what is meant to have happened, is because Hampshire and the New Forest in particular is a hotbed of magic, still is now, and all the witches got together and they started working really, really, really intensely against the Nazis. But like I said, the Nazis were occultists, so they would be doing their thing. We were doing our thing. Anyway, whatever we did worked. We won. They were defeated. So there you go. And the rest is history, as you say.
Well, he said to study that elemental magic. So I'm trying to, but finding good books on it. I mean, I've looked. There's a book called Elemental Magic. It just looks a bit cheesy. I don't want to buy something and have cheese, arrive where it's things like breathe in the air and feel it, and
a bit new age nonsense type.
Yeah, there's so much shit out there, and so much people ripping people off as well, making money out of just dishing out nonsense. And I'm struggling, but he said to study it. He said study it, be what's the word? Reverential with it. Be reverential with the elements, water, air.
Why don't you just go to a forest and see how you feel? The nearest big forest here, a really, really ancient forest, because that'll have tons of power. Why don't you just go there, start there? Because you'll be able to experience earth and nature, and then go by water and start experiencing water. But I mean, water comes in different forms, doesn't it? I mean, there's running water, and then there are big lakes, and there's a sea.
So how do I experience it? What do I do? Stand there and what?
Well, just start tuning into it. Just try and become it. Try and start to feel like you are it. You are water, and what it feels like to be water. And then if you're in a forest, then there's such a lot going on in a forest, though. Might take you a while, but just start to feel really, really connected to the earth. But not in a new age divvy way, in a way that's personal to you, your personal relationship with what's going on around you, with the elements. But I mean, what I mean by that is, within forests, there is much more than just the trees. There are a lot of different entities in forests.
So how would I, if I was standing there amongst the trees, how would I connect to the earth? What would I start
talking to the trees?
Really?
To begin with, start talking to them. They'll talk back to you. Right. Because they're like the guardians kind of thing, and they know everything that's going on. The rocks and things like that, they're like recording devices. They record things.
Who?
Rocks.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and stones. they're like entities in themselves. But trees, they'll if you keep doing it, the more you do it in the same place, the more they'll get to know you. But you can start talking to them, and then start asking them questions, and they should talk back to you. And then just be there in the quiet, and just start feeling the energy. You're sensitive to energy, so it should be easy to tune in. And then you might start getting some curious little things having a look at you, seeing what you're doing. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, just you can do it yourself, and then
okay. Well, that sounds better than reading somebody telling me, to do that in a cheesy way, where you've explained it in a proper way and I can feel it's real. Yeah.
Thank you. You're natural. I mean, it's like when I was a kid, I grew up there's a real fire, coal fire, sorry. And I used to be able to see salamanders running around in the fire. I didn't even know about what a salamander was, but I could see these things running around in the fire. So you've just got to go out and experience it for yourself, but become fully part of the experience and listen to
the fire. How do you connect with that then?
Well, you'd have to find a source of real fire to fully connect with that in a safe way. I don't really know, because you need to sort of look at flames and things like that and feel the heat. Because fire is a thing in itself. It's got its own. I wouldn't say it's an entity. It's quite difficult to explain fire. I mean, because you look at, there's loads of fires, big fires going on around the world at the moment, forest fires. But you could see what lives within fire, because a lot of things live within fire. And if you just think about basics like what fire can do, well, people have used it as a form of cleansing in the past, haven't they? And then people have used it as protection. People have used it to survive, to keep warm. People have used it to cook food. But it's also, we know it's a very powerful force in the world. No matter what your awareness is, you know that fire is powerful, and it can kill. It can give life. It can take life away. So, but I don't know much about fire magic. There must be fire magicians out there. And there must be people. But if you think about the entities that are associated with fire, like salamanders, phoenixes, things like that, but I'm sure if you start looking around the world at different traditions, you'll find that different things are associated with fire, whether they're in this 3D or, in the astral or spirit or whatever.
The jinn, of course.
Yeah, of course, the jinn, yeah. I mean, I thought, why are the jinn fire? Why are they like that? So if the jinn are fire, does this mean that there are entities that are water-based? Do you know what I mean?
Mermaids.
Yeah, but mermaids don't go around doing things that the jinn do, as far as I know. Maybe we don't know enough about mermaids, or generally we don't know. But I think if you get yourself in the right state of mind, I think you can experience the elements yourself and learn yourself how it feels. But yeah, there's certain things that you can talk to, like trees. And if you put your rocks, if you put your hand, it's like standing stones, isn't it? I mean, they've got loads of information, and the UK is absolutely covered in them. But they've got loads of energy and information. So if you put your hand on a rock, you might be able to get some information, because they are like tape recorders. That's why hauntings happen in houses, because houses are like tape recorders. It's to do with structure, but I mean, a lot of houses are on the earth for a start off, and there is like brickwork and stone and wood and all the rest of it. And so some places act like tape recorders, older, depending what they're made from. Older ones.
Psychometry. Yeah, I can do that. So maybe I'll do it.
I know, that's why I'm suggesting that you just link in with things. The air, I'm not sure what you do about the air. I mean, it's like that experience that I described on Lancaster Station. I mean, that was weird. It had such a strange feeling about it. That wasn't just a strong wind, that was something else. But yeah, but it prompted me to start looking up weather magic. Yeah, I suppose you could start by just studying what different forms air take, like tornadoes, whirlwinds, clouds. That's one part of air, isn't it? So it's a bit of research, and then I suppose one way to do it would be to go and sit on the highest point you could find.
Oh, really? Why?
Well, you're more exposed to the elements, like you're more exposed to air, you'll experience wind better or whatever, or breezes, or because some people, like when they've been on top of mountains and they've seen storm clouds forming, they've said, like, what are those clouds called that are shaped like an anvil? There's a certain name and I can't remember what it is. They've said they felt like it evil, it's like evil. So when you think about the form skies can take and the shape of clouds and all that, hurricanes and all that are interesting to study. Animate. What is it? There's that tradition, isn't there? The hurricane, after a hurricane, a really bad one. That's when you get the zombies coming out in places like Haiti and places like that.
Well, he said just that, to study the elements and to realize that they are living things and to show them reverence. So that was something he said to do, and to show reverence.
Because you can start working with them. That's why.
Right. Yeah, I think he meant that. Yeah, to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be a good start, because then you'd be really grounded in your environment as well.
Right.
Yeah, but it'd be good to learn all about all the different entities that come with those elements.
But there's no books on that. There should be, shouldn't there?
Yeah, there is.
There is. Is there?
Yeah. You might have to look around. Isn't that there's some really good occult bookshops in London.
Oh yeah, there
is. Like Watkins, and then there's one that's been there for over 100 years. The one that, like, Jimmy Page goes to in places like that, I think.
Aquarius, I think, isn't it called Aquarius?
I don't know. I know that the people that run it are witches.
There's one up near the British Museum.
Is there? Might be that one. Well, there are things like dryads, isn't there? They're the ones that are in the air, the entities that are in the air.
Well, what's the book on that? What's the book on element? And what would you look for? I mean, what would it, I've tried putting in elemental, doesn't come up with much.
I don't know. I don't know where you'd start looking.
And there's all these people that have done these New Age books that are crap. They're crap.
That's plastic. You don't want anything to do with that.
I know, and they're out there and they kind of spoil it because they're clever in the way they know how to make a good cover. They know how to learn all about elemental magic. And then you read it and it's empty. Fuck, it's so annoying.
I'll tell you what, if you can, you need to go to somewhere like the West Country or Cornwall or somewhere that's really magically charged. Because I know Glastonbury is like New Age capitalism, but outside of Glastonbury in the surrounding area, there is such energy. It's so magical, especially the West Country as well.
What about Ireland? Is that?
Oh God, Ireland's off the charts. Yeah. If you can go to these places and you can experience the magic there and what it tells you, and you can just get out and do as much as you can. I don't know. I think you're going to have to do some searching. I can't remember the name. This was so long ago that I saw a book that had things about dryads and the stuff that's in the air. Well, every element has entities that live within it. And I mean, the earth ones are no more than because of like gnomes and elves and brownies, and depending where you are in the country, like pixies, isn't it? Dark Cornish. And then we've got the fair. The Irish have got the she, and all the various forms of the she. So, but we've got plenty going on here, plenty. So, but there are certain areas of the country that are just portals and hotspots. So there would be one near you. I mean, I know Epping Forest has got one. Cannock Chase is what Deborah Hatswell is, who we interviewed on the show, that came on the show. She goes to all these different places and investigates, but it's the usual story. Like Cannock Chase, I think I've talked about it before. It's just got everything coming through, everything. UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, werewolves, dogmen, you name it, it's coming through. Black-eyed children. So I'm not suggesting you go somewhere where there's negative stuff, but some places are very magically charged. But they're usually very old places. So there must be places near you that are very ancient, or whether it's an ancient site or an ancient forest or wood or sacred. So I have got a book about occult Britain, so I could start looking up around where you are to find some places. Yeah.
So should we do the I mean, I don't know whether to do it or whether to schedule another time to try and speak to him. I mean, I haven't purified and I haven't lit incense. I mean, I don't, and I do feel like shit. I mean,
well, why don't you save it for another time and then
okay,
do what he's asked you to do and be prepared, and we'll set a time. We'll plan it in advance. We'll set a time.
Okay.
And then we'll do it. And I'll
Okay.
get purified as well. I'll do it too. I'll have a bath and get the incense going and all the rest of it. But
Well,
yeah,
maybe you should use the sigil too.
Well, if you can send me a picture of it, I'll print it out.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Well, yeah, so I can be respectful. But yeah, I mean, there's so much you can do on your own to begin with. You've just got to tune in. I mean,
well, he said to me as well, to use a Mercury, seal of Mercury. He must be of Mercury. Apparently, each entity is from a certain planet. That's according to Brian. And he said I should get a seal of Mercury, have it tattooed on me. I thought it's going a bit too far. But I don't know about these seals. I mean, the seal of Mercury, I looked it up. I think it's in the Key of Solomon, and the seal of Mercury has about 5 seals. And so I don't know which one to use. So that I don't know about them, and I don't know where to look about them. I think probably.
Well, I got that book, didn't I? I can have a look for you. See if it's in that book that I've got. I was going to have a look at it today because I've got the time.
Well, I've got that book too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you have, haven't you? Well, yeah, I've looked there. What is the point of the seals? Added protection? What is the point of them? I don't know the things like this. I don't know about all this.
I don't know about it either. Apparently, there's magicians that just work with the seals because it's from the Key of Solomon book, and I think like the Pentacle of Mercury 5, the 5th Pentacle of Mercury is to open doors. It's got a certain look about it, like a sigil. And then number 4 is for protection. I think number 3 is for something else. Number 2 and number 1. And then you've got the pentacles of Jupiter, the pentacles of Venus. You've got all these different pentacles. And I know there's different people that carve them out of brass and then you wear them for certain things or you use them. How they do it all, I have absolutely no idea.
I do know that the reason why magicians have tattoos, some of it is to do with protection.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's to do with protecting yourself from certain things. But beyond that, I don't really know.
Well, he told me to have this tattoo of one of the seals of Mercury. I mean, an actual tattoo. I thought, hang on, a tattoo? You're kidding. And he also said to draw them out and put them up around the place, around my house. Like, maybe draw one, then laminate it and put it up. One of the Mercury. I mean, why Mercury again? I don't know about that kind of thing.
Well, that's Hermes, isn't it, Mercury? I don't know either. I mean, Mercury's to do with communication in astrology, all things communication. Every time it goes retrograde, that's when everything starts getting all messed up and trains start going all over the place and your post goes missing and messes with communication in general. But I mean, that's the lower aspects of Mercury. The higher aspects are, say, somebody who's an intellectual genius or something. All right, no, I don't know.
I don't know.
No, I need somebody more experienced to explain that. I don't know, it's a bit of a big step though, getting a tattoo, isn't it?
It bloody is, you know. Well,
And it'd be expensive.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you going to say about tattoo? Sorry.
Yeah, I know it is weird to sort of, and then he said, draw it on ink on me somehow. I mean, these things, I mean, what are they? We don't know. Well, I don't. I bet there's somebody listening that knows the whole deal. But people know, don't they? And the rest of us are super ignorant about these things. And somebody, you know, might know that if you draw it on you in ink, it means something, something, something will happen. And it's nice to know, isn't it?
Well, I suppose it's up to us to look for the answer, isn't it, really? Try and find out ourselves. We've got to try ourselves first. But if we can't find the answer, maybe we are meant to ask somebody else and get their knowledge. But yeah, interesting about Mercury.
It is, and I'm supposed to write, you know, before well, if I can't get a tape, just write it in ink on me, you know, so I can't even find a bloody picture of them. I've Googled it, images, and sometimes little talismans come up, but not really clear pictures of them. I think it's in a certain book, and I think the certain book might be Key of Solomon.
Maybe. I've noticed there are a lot of things like that in that book. I've only read the first chapter, but a lot of it is really old knowledge, isn't it? So
yeah,
it's probably going to be in there if it's going to be anywhere.
And it annoys me that why aren't we taught in schools about this kind of stuff? You know, if it's, you know, if it's powerful, you know, why shouldn't we be reading that at school?
Well, because they're not going to teach us this, are they?
No
bloody way. No, they're going to teach the plebs this kind of thing.
It's not right though, is it? It's just really, really, really wrong. We live on an earth. There's all these kind of different forces. We're supposed to be more like pagans in touch with it all. And instead of that, we're put in a cardboard box and sort of disconnected from all of this. And it's like raping us of our power. And so then the only thing we have to do, we have to join their structure, which is money, 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 money. And if you don't worship money, you end up like me, you know, shitting yourself about everything. So it's like you have to worship it. It's a god here, and it ends up being a really perverted place, and it is a perverted place. You were saying about human trafficking, and so that's about money, 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 and just people kill and die and all for money. And I understand having none, how you can crave it, because without it, I mean, people get crazy about it though, don't they? And about the power and the status, and that's their whole lives. Their whole lives are about biggest house, nicest car, going to the best schools, best holidays, best, and living that kind of money in connection with that. And we've been totally jerked out of our real power, which must be so much more, you know, I mean, how much lovelier and how much more powerful will you feel communicating with a supernatural being in a forest rather than buying a bloody Prada dress? I mean, you get you get your little high, don't you? You do get a little high, but then eventually you look at that dress and you think, oh shit, you know.
It's just a dress. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's spiritual power, isn't it? And it's just been denied to us. I mean, I know we've had religion and we've had churches in various forms, but really, I think it's because humans are intrinsically spiritual beings, and so there's had to be some kind of way of channeling that spiritual energy that people experience into something. And so it's been done through organised religion in whatever form. And that's how it's been controlled, and that's been, magnificently used to tell people who were in the, industrial revolution that were being worked to death and living in absolutely appalling conditions. Oh yeah, you live in a vale of tears. This is what you expect. Everything's going to be a lot better when you pass over into heaven. So you and your family lead this shitty hard life just to make money for some pillock.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, really, yeah, I agree. It's all about spiritual self-empowerment. And it's like I said, you're on your own spiritual path, depending on a lot, your DNA, your life experiences, all kinds of things. And as long as you're not hurting people, I don't know, I suppose sometimes you might have to hurt people in self-defense or whatever. But that's a whole different matter, isn't it? But generally speaking,
I hate the way this world is with the class and the money. It's okay, I suppose, if you're riding at the top and you're feeling it and it makes life better. But if you're crushed by it, it's horrible. So you can get humble and say it doesn't matter if that person walks past you and looks at you like you're scum, and it doesn't really matter. But the way they make it really worse, the fear that you might have to live on the street, with the elements, and you need shelter and power, and not to breathe in mold, and you need the basics. So it becomes, even if you get humble, you still are actually in danger. So you're actually, this is how sick this planet is. You're actually in danger if you don't start worshipping the old money. And people think, oh, it's only energy, think of it as energy. But yeah, well, exactly, then you start having to think of that as energy when you should be like worshipping the elements. I mean, it's just the way it's wrong. And I'm sure you could then ask those powers to sort of help you with the old money energy. You don't have to sort of focus on that. It just sickens me the way it's set up. And it's just an ugly thing to have to, I mean, I have to teach my son about focusing on it, really, and it just feels perverse.
It is perverse.
It is. And then you get things, oh, you got to get. And all these people now about, renting, they're now asking for money up front, and, like 10,000 for, or you've got to have 6 months up front and all that. And the landlords are getting even greedier and greedier, and they were greedy anyway, but it's up a lot. And it's just like, if you don't really, really focus on money, you will be crushed, utterly crushed. Not like in the old days, when we were growing up, where everything was kind of fair. It's just got so nasty and so ugly. And so, I mean, even the cop who was sitting with me in the car last night, and I had the oil pump that piece of shit had, he said he put a new oil pump in. I got charged 500 as well as the whole job, which is 3,500. And I had the oil pump that was the original one in the car. And so the guys ripped me off 500 quid and another 400 for well, and probably the whole 3,000. And the cop knew because I had the evidence there. And the cop looked at me and said, it's civil, really. I said, you're kidding, mate. I said, that's theft. It's fraud and theft. He said, there's nothing we can do. And I just thought, what? So these people that are greedy and they think of doing these scams, they just call it good business. I mean, it's sickening, isn't it? And they crush the small person and they look for victims. And even the police say it's civil. I mean, it's just, what a failure. What a disgusting thing. What a sinful thing that money has just really, taken over so much.
I think a lot of people feel like that. I think a lot of people are very disillusioned with the bodies and institutions and organisations that are meant to keep civil society civil.
It's not civil anymore, is it? It's
no,
dog, literally dog. And you can feel the animalistic of it. I mean, that guy, I feel like he raped me. I just feel raped. I said to the cop, I feel raped by that guy because he looked me in the eye. He knew he was ripping me off of a lot of money. He knew I was a single mother. He questioned me about, was there a man around and stuff like that.
Oh, did he? Well, that was very telling.
Yeah, I told the cops that. They didn't bat an eyelid about it. And, you know, he got me in the far off place. He said, that'll be an extra 400. Showed me a receipt for an oil filter, which is a tenner, and said at 400 or you can't get the car. And I was intimidated
What?
because I was, miles. I'd already given him 2,900. He wanted an extra 400 for something that didn't exist. And I felt I had to hand it over. I couldn't get the car. I
You
said that
actually
to the
said
cop.
400 or you can't get the car.
Yeah.
Ah, well, that would have been theft then.
Well,
That's money with duress.
I told the cops that there's nothing we can do. He said maybe you should have gone outside and called police right there and then. I said it was right in the middle of nowhere. I said if I'd have done that, what if some guys had come out and said, "Oh, bitch, what are you doing?" I said if somebody's
Yeah.
nasty enough to do that, they're nasty enough to get nasty. I said, and I'm fully aware of that. And you know these guys have done that to me, and they're not even going to go around and interview the piece of shit.
It's not good enough, is it?
Well, it's bad. And so what happens then? If I was a different person, I would then start, well, I'm going to get money then. I'm going to treat people badly. I'm going to get a business and get as much money as I can out of people and not give benefit, you know, not give full benefit, value for money. You know, I'm going to get like that. I'm not going to get like, I'm not going to get a sinful piece of shit. I'm sure at the end of the day, these people will get their comeuppance, but right now they're being helped by you know the police and just to do that. I mean, bloody hell, we're not even being protected. There's not even civilization anymore. It's like gloves are off. And then people are joining in like these landlords. Oh, we've got to get 10 grand off people because they're telling themselves, oh, we're good people, we just have to look after ourselves, these are hard times now. And then they get nastier and nastier to people underneath them, and the whole thing just becomes like icy, you know, the whole society, the whole fabric of civilization breaks down and it just becomes a shithole. It's actually like a shithole here. It's actually like Libya, like they say Libya is like, you know, they say it's like hell on earth because there's no law. It's just, and it's going that way here, you know, dog eat dog. Who's the nastiest bastard on the block? And if you're the nastiest bastard, then you'll rise up. That's what it's like here.
It's not good enough, is it? Well,
No.
you should try and pursue this civilly because you would still have quite a lot of power, even though it'd be civil, and it would hurt them even more, really. But I mean, there was a verbal contract being exchanged there, and he used duress to get money out of you.
I know the cops are not batting an eyelid. What would I have power doing the civil route?
Well, it's like I sent you that link for Citizens Advice. I would go to trading standards first of all, because they're the ones with the hold the legal powers more than anything, and explain what's happened to them. Even if these people have closed the business down, they still need to be pursued because they're fraudulent, basically.
Yeah. Well, the cops aren't good. I said the cops went, "Have you got an address for him?" I felt like saying, "Mate, just put his name in the old police computer. I mean, what's going on with you?" I couldn't believe it. I mean, he was very young, the guy, no, lovely guy, but he was like, you know, didn't know the address. I said, "Look, I will trace him. I will trace him. I will track him. I'm going to write to his wife as well. I'm going to say, woman to woman, I feel raped by your husband, okay? And I don't care. They can come and arrest me. I'm sure there's a law. Oh, you're harassing him now. I don't give a shit. Let me come and get a. You're not allowed to say ouch now when people hurt you. I am going to go and do that. I'm going to speak to his wife and knock on the door even. Here's me. He raped me, by the way. He raped me of money. He looked me in the eye. He took it. I feel raped by your husband. Are you going to sleep with him tonight? Because that is what happened to me. I'm going to go there. I'm not going to let this go. I'm not going to let someone rape me and just, you know, walk away. And thanks very much. You know, I'm going to get busy with that guy. I'm going to get busy. I notice he's not online. No picture of the creep or anything like that. Well, that doesn't matter. I'll go round. And when
Well,
they set up again. What?
That says a lot that he's not got a visible presence online.
Do you know what I mean? And do you know what the cop said to me? I couldn't believe that yesterday I sat in this car with the cop giving the statement outside my house because he caught me coming in. I said, should we sit in the car rather than going inside mine, you know? And I'm glad because the energy, I felt very deflated after. He sat there with over an hour and then said to me, "Can't do anything." And I thought, mate, why did you even bother? And he said to me, he said, "Oh, because I said, look, they've made £2 million profit last year. Look, here's the figures." And he said to me, "They've probably got a ring of shops like that around London." I said, "You're kidding?" He goes, yeah, that's how they do it. And I thought, mate, you was telling me that, and you're then adding you're not going to do anything, and you think he's got a ring. The whole load of them have got a ring of shops around London. And somebody said to me this morning, Lisa from Basis said, well, they're scared to act sometimes against minorities. He's Indian, he's a Sikh.
Because really? I haven't heard that before.
What he's saying, they're probably not going to act because they feel like they might be called racist for acting against them. So he actually said he believes they got shops all around London. So that means rooking people, and what they're doing is rooking people. He said, and then they close, and then they open again, and they rotate the different. He said that's what they do, and I thought, well, aren't you going to raid them then? You're just going to let them crack on,
right?
But victim after victim after victim after victim after victim.
The police officer said this to you today.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Well, why don't you use your journalistic contacts, and why don't you? This is a story. I mean, this is an expose that could be done. Why don't you get some of your journalist buddies on the case? That would be the ultimate revenge.
But who would publish it? See, they don't want the little man stories.
Well, I mean, it sounds like they're making a lot of money, and they're ripping people off, and there must be other people like this.
Yeah, there must be.
I mean, you could even start a Facebook group and say, have you been affected by being... You don't have to name the name or name the thing, but have you been affected by bad mechanics or something like that? And word it in a certain way that it wouldn't leave you liable to being sued. But really... I would start legitimately. I would start with it. I'm not suggesting you got illegitimate. What I mean is legitimate route. Start with your trading standards. See what they say. Go do through the normal course of people that you go through. See what they say. See what you come up with, and then look at using other ways of sort of like dealing with these characters. I mean, really, you need to sue him. You need to take him to court, and you need to sue him to get your money back, and he can pay the court expenses. He needs to be exposed for being a shoddy person that he is. I mean, I take on board what you're saying about minorities, but I mean, the thing is, London is so multicultural. They really can't pull that one. It's different across the rest of the country, as we well know, as evidenced by the grooming gang victims, of which there is a quarter of a... But I don't know, 25,000 kids. I mean, God's sake. So we know all about that. But yeah, you've definitely got a remedy within the law. You've just got to prove your case. You've got to find out a few things, see where you stand, and then go for it. But I think you should put the feelers out to get some of your journalist buddies on the case, because if the police officer said this is what they do, then they need to do an expose about them.
I just don't understand the cops not acting,
Well, I don't think a lot of people understand the cops nowadays. They seem to be ineffectual in a lot of ways. They've really lost the respect of the British public, where at one point they were held in very high regard. But they've lost a lot of respect to the British public. A lot of it's to do with political correctness and them being ineffectual and not caring when terrible things happen to people. I'm not saying all the time. They still do some good work for some people, but I think things like the grooming gang scandal has, I think it's appalled a lot of people, what they've done, how they've acted over that. But they were told to do that. It came down from the Home Secretary at the time, which was Gordon Brown. So we were told to ignore it. So what can you do? Well, appalling. Yeah, so that's what you should do anyway, I think. But yeah, no way let them get away with it, hunt them down and make them pay. I mean, if you need to, you've got other ways of dealing with them.
Oh, using Magick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I will. I've I've held back on that, but I think I will. I just, just feeling raped and that, and it's just bad feeling, around that. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
I got hacked off breathing down my neck. Hacked off paid for it, so actually it wasn't my money. It was Graham Johnson's money, and they want me to sign that affidavit. I need. In return for that, they're going to pay the other garage who's now fixing what the others didn't do, because they didn't do anything for the 3,500. So I now need to sign. I wasn't going to sign that affidavit of that 70 pages. Now I've got to do that, so they will pay again to get the bloody car fixed. I mean, it's crazy. It almost feels like Spirit wants me to do it. But, I spoke to them yesterday and they said to me, oh, go to a solicitor's in Waterloo and sign the affidavit, and then Graham will pay the garage after. And I said, you are kidding me. I said, as soon as I sign that affidavit, you people are going to go to the police and say, oh, she did this, she did that, she did that. It's illegal. She shouldn't have done that. It's illegal. It's illegal. And it's like, I know you're going to do that, but I've decided to come forward and to say, I did this, I did that when I was a private investigator. I certainly didn't think it was illegal to lie to somebody at the time. Telling a lie doesn't seem like it's illegal. So how would I know at the time? So arrest me, officer. So they're going to arrest me for telling a porky pie.
Wait a minute. What are they alleging that you've done? What are they alleging? Do you think they would allege that you've done?
Well, things like spy on Tom Hardy. Oh, you make friends with Anne Hardy's mother, and all that's a lie.
So that's invasion of privacy. Okay, so that's not a crime.
Right.
I mean, the thing is, they have to prove all these things. If they did, say shop it to the police or whatever, for whatever reason, they'd have to prove everything. Plus,
seemingly it's proved by me signing the affidavit.
Well, yeah, but you're doing that under duress, aren't you? Because you need the money.
Well, I think, Joanna, I think that is why they've decided to not pay me for that. Okay, so now the agreement was they would pay the mechanic whatever before I signed it. Okay, and we go to a lawyer, and the lawyer sits there, and the lawyer gets the money into his account, right? I then sign the affidavit, then the lawyer lets the money go to the garage, right? This new garage where the car is, and so. But now they've changed the goalpost. They've made it that it's a lawyer in Waterloo that I don't know. It's somebody they know. And I go there on my own, sign it, and then afterwards they pay the garage. Now, I think that they have worked out that you're not allowed to pay somebody, even though they're not actually paying me. They're not allowed to pay somebody to sign an affidavit. And therefore, they're not going to pay me. So somebody has obviously said to them, oh, by the way, it's not bona fide if you pay them. And so they now are trying to get me to sign it without paying me. I think that's what's going on.
Right.
I said, I'm not going to do that because they've said little bits and bobs that I've done in the affidavit are illegal. And I said, as soon as I sign it, I know you're going to start making a fuss. I know you're going to start going to the CPS and saying, oh, prosecute her. What else are they going to bloody do with it? They're not.
Yeah, but how would that stand up in court? I mean, how would that stand up in court? I mean, I can't see this being an open. If it did, I'm just saying, just entertain me. If it ended up in court, how would this be legitimate? I don't think it would be.
Talking to Diana. Okay, so I rang Diana. I said I was from the Chelsea Harbour Club, right?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, you've left your bracelet here, something. And I can't remember what I was trying to find out of her. And then she basically had a small chat with me. Anyway, so Graham then hacked off, said that was illegal because it's
a royal.
No. Illegal to do it to anyone. It's deception to gain advantage.
No, is that criminal?
Apparently, according to Hacked Off, it is. So that is what they want to get me on. Well, not me. The idea is to get the newspapers, but I'm the creature in between that will be squashed, if you know what I mean. So okay. So to make it really bad on the newspapers, I probably would have to be charged. I mean, like the phone hacker guy. So they want a whole.
Well, I see where you're coming from. I think you need legal advice before you sign this document. You need to get legal advice yourself. Right. God. Deception, is that a crime? I think surely isn't it only a crime if you gain financially from it?
Yes, but I do.
Like that guy's done to you, basically.
Sorry?
Like that guy's done to you, the garage guy's done to you. I mean, that was deception. But
what it frigging was, you're right, yeah.
But it was deception within a commercial transaction, so there are different laws applied to it.
See how dirty it is? Oh, but if you do something, well, you know, yeah. So they've said, oh, it's a criminal offence. I think last time he did a story on me, he said about around the down. I think he said under the Criminal Act 1995, it's a criminal offence, and they're lawyers. They're obviously top.
Right. Have they got evidence? Have they got a recording of you speaking to Lady Di?
Well, what they've got is a printed story. So it was printed in, I think, the Sunday Mirror.
Right. So what is the ultimate aim of all this? Is using you to get to the news of the world? Get revenge on Mirror Group?
No, now it's the Daily Mail, which I worked for 20 years.
Oh, okay. So it's a war against the Daily Mail.
Yeah. I worked for them for 20 years and I was their sole PI. And it was all kept very hush-hush because, well, I don't know. They did keep me hush-hush. I didn't think of anything at the time, but now...
Who's the legal guy or girl at Daily Mail now?
I don't know.
Why didn't you get in touch with them?
No, they... I stupidly told somebody who's a friend... and they leaked it back to the Daily Mail and then told me about their reaction. And their reaction was, we know who you are. Well, obviously they do work for them for a long time. And, oh, how interesting. And that was their reaction. How interesting. I mean, basically, what I have told Hacked Off in the... affidavit, so-called affidavit, it's a tip of the iceberg. If I wanted to get the Daily Mail in the deepest shit, I could say a lot.
Right. Well, I think you need to damage limitation. I think you should find out who the legal person is, get in touch with them, just informally ask to speak to them, explain the situation.
No, they don't want to. No, they didn't want to know. They didn't want to know.
Well, that's only on this person's word.
No. This person is 100% connected.
Right.
No, it's 100%. They don't want to know. They're like that. I approached them a long time ago and said, you know, I'd worked for you for 20 years. Do you want to have a non-disclosure agreement and give me a payoff? They were like, no. And I thought, really, this is a good few years back when all the Hacked Off started. And I remember thinking, really, don't you? That's fine.
So in other words, they don't fear Hacked Off.
They don't fear me. And they don't.
Well, do they fear Hacked Off? Because if they fear Hacked Off and if Hacked Off are using you to get to them, then you're being used as a weapon against the Daily Mail, aren't you? In effect.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you should find some way of giving them a chance to help you.
No. Honestly, that bridge has been crossed and burned. It's burned. They maybe, you know what I think they think?
Yeah,
actually,
what?
And it pisses me off. I think they think, oh, look at her online. She's saying, you know, she's this and that, and she's got the silly radio show where she talks about MK Ultra. They think they can probably rip me apart in the dock. But I tell you this much, I have a very honest bearing about me, and I tell the truth. And if I'm standing in a dock and looking in the eyes of a judge, I'm sorry, I come over bona fide. So I don't think I'm as much of a pushover as the Daily Mail might consider me. And I think they've probably looked into it and considered and thought, nah, you know, nah.
Okay. All right. So they've underestimated you. So
which always happens with me.
Okay. Well, I understand what you're saying. So so they want to destroy the Daily Mail? They want to finish it? Is that the point? Or is it monetary?
Yeah.
They want to finish it like they did with News of the World.
Yeah, they want to finish it. Quite frankly, I don't give a toss, actually. I don't give a toss. Have they been nice to me? They used me for 20 years. I gave them many front pages. I never leaked any of their stories. When they used to ring me, they used to say, "Can we borrow your genius?" And actually, I was bloody good. And actually, a lot of the stuff was illegal. I would say, yeah, it was actually. And I haven't told Hacked about those certain things. I haven't told them. I've told them
Good.
A, B, C that I think's not illegal, but there's loads of stuff that I haven't told them, loads of it. And
Oh,
I've got
thank God for that.
Yeah, no, I haven't said it, but the Daily Mail, they're rude actually. If you think about it, they don't look after people that work for them.
Well, that sounds like the newspapers, though. I mean, the newspapers are just ruthless, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And actually, when I was burgled that time, I'd spoken to this same contact about, the mail. Do the mail want to give me a payoff, to keep my mouth shut? And I got burgled. Next thing I got burgled. Now, if I wasn't burgled by Hacked, I was burgled by the mail. And so actually, you're dealing with these individuals, you're dealing with gangsters, you're dealing with a mafia because they're not normal people. It's not like,
not in any shape or form. Yeah.
They're gangsters, and they'll kill you. They'll kill you if they think you can really cost them a lot. A little piece of shit like me, they'll kill me. They'll wipe me out. I know that. I'm not stupid. That's why, if anybody's listening, I have all the remittance advices from the Daily Mail from day one all the way through, and it is with a friend of mine that is not linked with me. They're not linked with me on my Facebook. They're not linked with me online. I've never spoken about them before. It's a guy I met one time, not online. We had a thing, and they're with him. And no, Greg Miskew, it's not who I told you about one time. It is somebody very secret. They've got all that paperwork, and if anything and proof and my notebooks and everything, if anything happens to me, Daily Mail's going to just be finished. So nothing.
Good for you, Chris.
Yeah.
Good for you.
But meanwhile, back at the Batcave, I'm willing to say, a few certain things that I did for the Mail, which I've done in this affidavit, but they won't be, I'm doing it in return for my car. And I'm doing it because, I think, well, maybe I should come forward. Maybe I should say, this is what I did. And I'm willing to talk about it to get things off my chest. And, again, the serial killer thing. Why did you write to a serial killer? Maybe I had anger issues. Again, I'm willing to come forward about that. I've got to a certain age where I want to tell the truth, maybe to help other people out there feeling the same way. I mean, if I wasn't working class, if I wasn't grown up in care, if I didn't have my education ruined, I wouldn't have been telling lies for the Daily Mail to Kate Moss and stuff like that. I wouldn't have had to do that. I would have been at university and had
Yeah.
So it's the way things
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
So, but Hacked haven't got the brains, I don't think, to deal with me in an honest way. They've started to deal with me in a way like, oh, go along to the lawyers, you sign it, and we'll sort your car out later. And I said, listen to me. I said, I am exchanging something very tiny, okay, £600, tiny, very, very tiny, for something massive. Even on Colin Firth and Tom Hardy alone, you're talking a couple of million at least. So I'm giving them the ability to sue for millions, and yet I'm getting my oil pump fixed. And that is so tiny. And I know it's tiny. That's the energy exchange. I don't want to earn money out of what I used to do because it was wrong. And so I want to come clean, have a clean thing. I don't want to get money hacked off. I don't want it, I don't want it. But I do want my car fixed. But they're now playing a game where they're not even willing to do that. And I said to them, you're getting a lot of me for very little. And you think that maybe I'm such a silly bitch. I haven't worked that out. I said, no, I have worked that out, but I don't want things from you. I want to come clean. And in coming clean, you don't get paid. You're not supposed to get paid for coming clean. That's not how the energy bloody works, But I do want my goddamn car fixed, because when it does come out, I'm going to be under masses of stress. I at least want a frigging car. At least want a car. but they're not even willing to do that, and it's just patronizing. I said, listen, as soon as I sign that affidavit, you're going to be on the phone to the police. And now they're coming back to me, oh, we're not like that to you, Chrissy, we're your friends, you know, in that tone, not actually saying that, but oh, how could you say that, and why are you being like that? And I just think, oh, come on.
Do they think you were born yesterday?
They think I'm retarded, clearly, and again, the male again, you know, they're thinking they can easily, presumably thinking they can easily get me dismissed in court. No, they can't. I'm honest. When I speak with honesty, people can hear it. So I am a good witness. And Hacked Off seem to think that I don't believe that I'm going to get in the deepest shit as soon as I sign that affidavit. I probably will get arrested. I probably will get the police come to the door. And I know that. I know that. I'm aware of it. And they're treating me as if I don't know it. But I do know it. I'm so sorry. And they want that. They need that, because if they don't have that, I won't be such a good weapon against the Daily Mail. I have to be an arch criminal. If I'm not an arch criminal, then it doesn't work as well, you see. And the stuff on there that I'm worried about in the affidavit, the stuff I've told about an ex-MI6 agency who spied on nuclear plants for the Russians. And I'm thinking,
what?
I know. I'm thinking, well, should I have said that? And they're like, well, you know, you said it now, but I don't.
Sorry. Excuse me.
That's okay. I don't want to be a grass on those agencies. They're about as powerful as you can get. I mean, I could just see it, me getting my limbs busted off.
Oh, God. Not nuclear stuff. Yeah. That is heavy duty.
There's a lot of heavy duty stuff in there. There's the Times. They want me to spy on MI6 for them. That's in there. They paid me for that. So, I mean, I don't know, is blagging MI6, is that legal or illegal? I don't know about that. I was told to do it by the Times. There's proof of that as well, because the story was a front page one. So there's that. I don't know about that. Is that arrestable? Will I find myself Julian Assange locked up, throw away the key? I mean,
that is meant to be the function of journalism, though, isn't it? You're meant to be the eyes and ears of the public, and as a journalist, you're meant to be able to go to places where the public can't access. Exactly. And you're meant to see that the statutory bodies and institutions of our country are being run to the highest standard, and not only, you know, conducting the law, but operating under the law. Now, if they're not operating under the law, and if they're contravening whatever, then as a journalist, it's your duty, if you know that, to report that. That is your job. That's the job of the fourth estate. So,
well, when the Times came to me to do that and told me, I mean, they gave me the guy's mobile number, the MI6 guy out in Syria. Actually, why was that guy so easy to lie to? Because I thought, well, I should go through the motions. I mean, I like the Times, obviously. If it was, I think it was a lower paper, I would have thought, piss off. But because it was the Times, I wanted more work for them. I thought, okay, I'll do it. The MI6 officer shouldn't have been so easy to fall for my creation. Do you know what I mean? I remember thinking, mate, you're an idiot. I mean, why did he have that job, you know?
Was he an asset?
No,
was
he
was an officer.
Officer. He was in charge of Syria at the time. I know. The Times had his contact because they're the Times, and they gave it to me. Said, find out.
Oh God, this is mental.
Yeah, find out who's the guy. I won't say the actual story. I don't want to, because you know.
I don't think you should say anything else. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing.
But this is what they want me to sign. And once you sign the affidavit, it's like swearing it in court. So if anything you say in there is untruthful, it's perjury. So it's a big deal. And what? They can't get my car fixed for it? I mean, it's just like a token, John. It's like giving me a drink.
I agree.
And now they're trying to wiggle out of it. I mean, they're being kind of stupid.
What are they trying to wiggle out of?
Well, yeah, they want me to go and sign the affidavit without
without them paying. Like you said, you think you're going to sign it and then going to say, sorry, we're not going to pay for your car or whatever. And then,
of course they are.
Next thing, Inspector Ross is banging at your door.
Yeah, of course that's going to happen. I mean, Inspector Rose is going to bang at the door, but at least I want to have a car while they're doing it. Do you know what I mean? I want to go to Tesco. I mean, Jesus, I mean, why am I treated like a beggar, like a retarded beggar? I mean, perhaps I come across as retarded. I don't know, but that happens over and over again, that lack of respect and that, talking to you in that way. I mean, I don't know why I get it. I get it.
No, I know what you mean.
I mean, I did those things. So, I mean, it does take a small amount of IQ. It's not, it's not rocket science, but I did have to have a brain to do it,
Well, who's got the bloody ovaries to phone up Lady Di? Yeah, I mean, most people would be bumbling over the words and they'd be like, but you did it. I mean, for God's sake, you obviously got talent.
Sadly, it's a talent that can't be used in any other way. But actually, it's a psychic talent, because what I used to do before I would ring people, I would get in a certain frame of mind. Then I would plug into them psychically. And sometimes, like with the MI6 officer, it was difficult. So I would look at the phone number, say, that they'd given me of the MI6 officer, and I'd try and feel him through the phone number, because he would use that all the time. He'd be connected by that all the time. So I would think about it. Then I would try and meditate on it. Then I would get up how to go about it. And then when I ring him, I would listen to his energy. What kind of energy has he got? How to go about it? Do I need to be officious? Do I need to be a little girly? How do I need to be? And then you'd hit them in that way, whatever way. So it was a psychic skill, really, and so I do use that, to try and help other people. But they don't give you kudos for it, because I think they don't believe in it. I mean, they compared what I do with what I did with the phone hacking. But the phone hacking is, that was all you had to do was just use 123, or you'd ring 02. And it was very much, you could train anyone to do it, even somebody that was very, very low intelligence. So Mulcair wasn't the same animal, as I was. You do need a brain, but they do treat me like I'm like Mulcair, which is a mistake.
Yeah, obviously.
So I don't know. We're at the stage now where he's texting me and saying, "Oh, you're being very silly. You're being difficult. You're being like paranoid." And I said, "Call me what you want. Call me paranoid, and maybe I'm being paranoid, but I'm sorry. I have to sit with a lawyer, and the lawyer gets the payment for the garage. I sign, then he transfers it to the garage, and I get a car in return for giving you something that is worth millions upon millions. I just don't get how, and I can only think that somebody said to them, a lawyer perhaps, that signing it and giving me anything is will make it will make it null and void, presumably. Again, I don't really know much about. But they're not actually paying me, are they? They're sort of, they're just. But
no, they're not actually paying you.
And they haven't paid me for anything that I've done for them.
Well, that's in your favour then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, listen, we're coming up to the top of the hour, and it would have been 2 hours. I mean, why don't you ask Shemyaza what you should do?
Yeah, that's a thought. Yeah, I should. Means
I mean,
have
you've got nothing to lose, have you?
Which I should do now. I'll do that actually, and I could maybe put it underneath in the YouTube in the description about what happened with him, or
yeah,
I don't know, or maybe it's private. I don't know. Sometimes he wants to keep things private.
Well, I don't know what to say. It just seems like you damned if you do, damned if you don't, and you're stuck between a rock and a hard place because you need your car for loads of reasons. But then if you do this, then yeah, sorry.
Go on. If you do this thing, what?
Then you might incriminate yourself. And
well, of course I will. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and then
they want me to meet up with the BBC and to talk about doing a program.
Oh God, I forgot about that. What's the BBC thing?
Will the BBC want to do a program about it? And somebody I was telling said, "Oh, that's just a hook to make you sign." But it's not a hook. Who wants to go on
No.
BBC and start talking about this? But I know, obviously, hacked off of links to BBC. Because I've met a BBC from them before.
Yeah.
This was going round back in 2015. So in 2015, I did meet a BBC editor and talked about going on there and talking about. So now they're saying we want to meet. You want to meet the BBC guy again. So I've said yes, I've agreed to that, but still no help with the car. I mean, I don't get it. It's all like they want me for nothing, and they want and I'm not even asking for anything. It's so tiny. I don't understand. I don't understand that. I don't get anything out of talking to the BBC.
What, do you not get paid if you talk to the DV?
No, they won't pay. No, they won't pay. They're notorious non-payment. Notorious.
Seriously, the amount of money they've got and the amount they pay their dweeby little presenters.
Oh yeah. No, people don't get. Same with that Arrow Media. The Arrow for Netflix. They wanted to do something about Kenneth Bianchi. And I just don't have interest. I said, do you offer? No, we don't pay. It's just for the glory of going on there.
You feel stuffy then. I mean,
but they do that TV, TV people, they do that. You're supposed to be, really? You've asked me to go on there? I mean, I don't mind.
It's valuable information. That's your lived experience. Not everybody gets to do that.
Yeah.
And if you make some money out of it, good on you.
But I don't mind giving it to. But then also, Hacked talked about a book as well, and they said, a book
for
on
God's
your life.
sake.
But then they said to me, "Oh, we'll maybe employ you for 6 months, and then the book goes out." So that means the book goes out. They've employed me. Well, that's nice to be employed for 6 months. But then what happens? So then there's a book out there about me. I don't have any profit in that, and not being funny, my life's been unusual, and I've had an offer of a film before, but that's only because of the serial killer stuff. But I suppose they'll be focusing on the newspaper stuff, but still they'd have to mention the serial killer stuff as well, so they'd get the whole lot. And then they own that. I mean, that doesn't seem right either.
No, it's not right. You should get royalties or whatever it is. There's all kinds of things that you should be getting out of this.
Or a joint, I know, but don't get, or a joint byline, or, I mean, I've written a book about my life. Why not take that and, add bits but no, they want to do it. They want to do it. It's like, I don't know, it's like, feels like it's not an honest interchange as well. I have to get skanked. And, I was telling my son about this yesterday, and I said, I wonder what the book title will be called. Maybe it will be called Skank, But you get treated in that way, and then people make you like that, and then she's a skank. And then, what is that what they're going to call the bloody title? I mean, I think yes, because then it suits a certain really evil woman. So then you come across as like Karen Matthews. That's just not Karen Matthews.
If they did, they'd have holy hell rain down on them from the likes of Julie Bindel and Julie Burchill, feminists and people like that, myself included. Because that's misogynistic, doing that to a woman.
It is. I get a victim of that.
They can't do that nowadays. They can't do that. They can't misogynize women that way. There would be hell on if they did that. Really? I would make sure there'd be hell on. Oh, yes, I wouldn't have that in any shape or form. No, that's completely unacceptable. No. There would be hell, I can assure you. It's all really complicated. I wish I could give you some advice, but I can't think what to do. I mean, apart from getting legal advice, but where are you going to get that from? Because that costs. I don't know. I wish you could take them to the cleaners yourself.
Well, it's weird. Why can't they just be honest? Why can't they say, well, yeah, we'll do a book and it will be joint byline, and you can have control and say. Why do they have to say, oh yeah, we'll just do a book, we'll employ you for 6 months? I mean, I've got all the serial killer stuff. That's very interesting. People find that, especially in this day and age. What are they going to get all of that just for like employing me for 6 months for couple of £100 or whatever they intending on employing me for. I mean, that's just not right. What the fuck? I've already written 2 books about my life, and they could copy and paste from there as well. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, why do people have to treat other people like, because if they went along and did it with me as a, you know, bona fide equal or whatever, then that would work out better. Why do I always have to be misogynized just constantly in life? It's just like it comes at me, and just, I don't know, it just feels like, I don't know.
Well,
Weird.
like you say, probably because you're a working class woman, and if you were from the establishment, or if you were the daughter of an MP, or daughter of somebody rich, or if you had a rich husband or whatever, they would think twice, wouldn't they? It's like, it's the equivalent of the man at the garage asking if you had a man in your life. Bloody hell, that is alarm bells ringing, isn't it? In other words, have you got a man in your life who's going to come down here and he's going to thump the hell out of me when he finds out I'm ripping you off? So
Well,
it's the
you know, I
equivalent
knew
of
it.
that.
I knew it. I knew it that he was going to do it. So I remember asking Paul, I said, can you come with me to pick the car up? And he said, but why? Can't you do that yourself? I said, I just got a bad feeling. He said, what do you think? They're going to duff you up? They're just going to give you the car back. And I got talked out of my intuition and instincts that were screaming at me that I needed him to come with me. And
Thanks, Paul.
yeah, and of course when I did go, of course they bullied me out of £400, and they sort of skanked me with the whole car. And you're right, actually, it's being a working class woman, I get talked to as if I'm a skank, and I can feel it. You know, I can feel that being skanked. I can feel it, and I can feel that you're a skank. You know your place, and crack on. And you know, I felt that when John Boyle relieved me of my position in Fleet Street, I almost felt that he was like, crawl back beneath your stone, skank. You're not fit to do investigations for Fleet Street. But I carried on doing investigations for the Daily Mail, carrying the Daily Mail. Now they can't even be loyal to me. But I did that. And what did John Boyle do? He went into the News of the World and he finished the whole newspaper. You don't do that to your clients. If you're a good PI, you don't go into like the News of the World and finished it. That's what he did. He finished them with his skill. So
he was
who's the
working for somebody else, surely.
What?
He was working for somebody else, surely.
Probably, but he still went in there and skanked it. So, you know,
yeah.
And he's out there, and you know, all the ex-MI6 agencies, they think he's a golden boy. I actually was shouted by one of them years and years ago when they hired me to do a job, met them in a bar, and he said to me, I've seen you in The Independent talking about John Ball, saying he was connected with the phone hacking. How dare you do that? And again, I sat there like a working class woman, skanked. And in fact, they should call the book Bloody Skank. You know what? You know what? I should write a book about myself. Call it Skanked.
I think we should call this show Skanked and Shemyaza and Skanked. No,
We should. They do that working. You're right. It is about being working class. It is.
Yeah, working class. That's a minus. A woman, that's a minus. You could just go on, couldn't you? Honestly,
is that though?
See you next Tuesday, these people.
What?
See you next Tuesday.
I mean, the guy talking to me, he was educated at Eton, and I'm not going to say his name. He's quite sweet, but he's educated at Eton. He was an editor of a very powerful newspaper in Fleet Street. You know, he's intelligent. He's nice. But he does talk to me as if I'm a lower life form. He does. And I don't even think he knows he's doing it.
How appalling. Absolutely how appalling. I mean, this is just typical, isn't it? These people, they're still getting the top jobs. The class system in this country is ridiculous.
But to be true, I mean, it's almost like some people say, you know, oh, Jewish people think we're goyim and they treat us badly. But what about the class system? You know, I know working class men are treated badly too. And, you know, working class women, we're seen as, it's like they see us as non-human. It's like they see us as, sort of inferior, maybe made of inferior cells and something.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's weird. I mean, it is weird. I'm kind of sick of it, and I don't like the mail. I don't give a shit about them because they lent on me for many many years. They trusted me, which was nice. They were very polite whenever they rang me, but they just dropped me when the phone hacking came in, and they weren't. They thought, right, let's clear out private detectives out of Fleet Street. Why didn't they come to me and say, well, you're more of a journalist, really. Let's give you a job and thank you, and you've never harmed us in any way, but they just flush you down the toilet like shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, anyway, going on. It's raining again, which is weird. It was raining all last night.
Yeah,
So
it's cold here. I'm going to have to get the fan heater out. It's gone really cold. Can't believe it. We were being baked about 10 days ago. Now it's completely cold. All right, should we end the show there then?
Yeah,
And,
so thanks. Yeah, it was a good show, and we call it Skanked.
I think we should call it Skanked.
We should call it
Skanked.
So funny. We got that name from that Duncan O'Finian.
Oh God, yeah.
He's so funny. I love being called a skank by him.
Oh, you lying skank.
Oh, that's it, a lying skank. It's so funny. She never knew the real RA, that lying skank. I know the real RA when I get to Z-Man. He was called Z-Man. It's so funny.
God's sake. Yeah, lying skank.
That lovely accent. Oh, yeah, call me it again. Call me it.
It's got to be Skanked then, hasn't it? The name of this show is officially Skanked.
It's a lovely title, isn't it? It just rocks.
I've got a feeling that you're going to get your revenge in the end, Chris, and you'll come out on top. And you'll sit by the river and watch the bodies of your enemies float by, as the Chinese say. I hope so, anyway.
It's a garage mechanic. I'm just angry at, I just am, the way he really sort of turned around and did that. There was hatred there, the hatred again. I think the race, it was a racial attack, and again, because I'm a woman, bastard, evil.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, we'll sort in one way or another.
Yeah.
All right,
anyway,
then. So let's go off and get a cup of tea each and try and enjoy it. All right, then. Thanks, Christine. It's been a great show. You've been listening to Skanked with Christine Joanna Hart and Jana Vera Greasley. We hope you enjoyed the show. No doubt next show will be as equally as scintillating and fascinating. So for magical insights, secrets revealed, come to us. Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Bye.